Chair.
Oh,
Yeah.
I have
Me then.
That's okay, Karen, and then me. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. There you go.
That's okay. I just wanted to pick up on the impact of the pandemic and to raise one particular impact that I've been made aware of, which is the cycle trainers who train school children in all the boroughs across London are they're effectively gig economy workers. They get contracts from local authorities who get their money from Transport for London, hence it comes into the remit of this meeting. And so the impact on Transport for London's budget has decimated the loss of fares income has decimated the Transport for London budget. And I gather that the cycle trainers, there's a real risk that they will all go off and find other jobs to do because they're in a precarious situation where they can't earn because the councils have no money to employ cycle trainers to train all the children in cycling safely on our roads, which is a big part of the Mayor of London's project of trying to get more people making their everyday journeys by walking and cycling. So I just wondered, Max, if you could sort of say anything at all about what you see as the issues there, and whether there's anything that you think could be done to resolve this situation.
Thanks a lot. I think it's a pretty devastating blow for training in London, because they're building cycle lanes if no one's going to actually use them, and if we are actually going to tackle climate change, we need to create a modal shift between cars and fossil fuel transport actually onto bikes. So there's a wider impact as well on achieving lower emissions for London to actually invest in cycle training, and that means investing in the workforce, who you're correct to say are part of the gig economy, or the so-called gig economy. They're engaged by third parties through self-employed contracts, that ultimately the boroughs are the clients. And we had a very productive meeting with Haringey last week. Haringey Council have actually agreed to underwrite the Q4 funding with a budget of £30,000, which actually isn't all that much money in terms of budgeting, and that's in addition to any funds committed by TfL, and it's going to be made available immediately for the remainder of Q3, although the actual activity is expected to be quite low.
But can I just come in there? So that's one borough who is committing some money, but this is a shortfall across the whole of London because that TfL funding is not available because of the problems with the TfL budget. So are you aware of anything happening with TfL to try and plug this gap to help these precariously employed workers?
So what we want is that the boroughs to copy Haringey's example, and also for TfL to address the funding crisis and develop long-term funding solutions, so that there's actual investment in the workforce, because the workforce through the self-employed model have experienced a 12-year pay freeze. They have short notice cancellations and other work which is actually unpaid. So it would be really good if TfL could actually address those issues and engage with the union more broadly to find solutions that benefit TfL, that benefit the workers and London in general, because tiny bits of money here and there isn't gonna create a really sustainable solution.
I just wonder, Rajesh, since you're here in the chamber, I wonder if you could have a word with Will Norman and Heidi Alexander just about, because this is a very particular group of workers in London whose, income has suddenly just dried up and disappeared. And that they're very skilled people. This is one group of people who are capable of teaching children in our schools how to ride bikes safely, and we are at risk of losing them. So if you were able to have a word, that would be very appreciated.
I'd be very happy to pick this up with my colleagues Will Norman and also with Heidi Alexander.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Before we go to Assemblyman Bakari, we as a committee, we will write to the Mayor. I'd like to ask a question, Deputy Mayor. If cycling is so important to the Mayor, why wasn't this picked up? Because we have spent money, for instance, on colourful road crossings that could have been directed to this, which would have two birds, one stone. It would have saved these workers in a precarious situation and it would have supported the goal to get more people onto their bikes. Why wasn't something like that done?
Well, there are two very separate things. So first of all, we're very passionate about increasing cycling, encouraging people to use more public transport, walking more and so on. And that's why low traffic neighborhoods, for example, were introduced so that people feel safe as they are cycling. In terms of, you mentioned about the colourful crossing, etc. I mean, that's part of the Let's Do London campaign to encourage more visitors to come into central London to help the economy revive. So these are two quite sort of distinct things, but very happy to pick up on this matter with my colleagues Will Norman and Heidi Alexander.
We will do the same. You're correct, they're two distinct things, but they come from one pot of money. Our money's for London, and it sounds like this would have been a better spend. Assembly Member Bakari.